Hey Baltimore, it's Councilwoman Phylicia Porter here, and we are back with another episode of I Got Time with Phylicia Porter. This week, we are going to talk about how a bill becomes a law, which is so very important because have you ever wondered about an idea, maybe something you've complained about at a community meeting or posted on Facebook, and you wonder how it actually turns into a law. Today, we are going to go over the process with how a bill becomes a law, because policy isn't just paperwork. It isn't social media posts. It is engaging in the legislative process and true community power. I'm going to keep it real. I'm going to keep it local, and I'm going to keep it focused, and I'm going to keep it a little bit funny. Right? Like, share, and subscribe in the comment section. What questions that you have already, because again, we read the comments and we tailor this podcast to answer the questions that you all may have, the real questions that you all may have in Baltimore. Every law starts with an idea, right? And in Baltimore's, those ideas just don't come from politicians. They come from you, community. They come from real people. Community members, advocates, small business owners, parents. Sometimes Baltimore, even that one neighbor, that emails at 2:00 in the morning. I see it, Baltimore. And I may not respond, but I see it. And let me tell you, if emails alone could pass laws, Baltimore would have solved everything right now. If social media posts could solve and could be laws, we would have solved everything in Baltimore right now. But seriously, issues like illegal dumping, the potholes that we talked about, public safety, housing conditions, food access, and sovereignty, they often spark legislation. Because as a council member, all of those issues exist in Baltimore. And as council member, it is our role to listen, identify patterns, and ask, is this a one-time issue or is this something that we need to legislate? I'm going to say that one more time for the people in the back. Is this something that is a one-time issue, something that is recurring, something that is happening within our agencies that's not quite doing what we said to do, or do we need to legislate? Not everything needs to be legislated. Not everything needs to be legislated. Woo! It's figuring out how community members, individuals, whoever can truly engage within the legislative process, whether it be through idea generation, inquiries, questions about the bill, or the actual bill language and draft. This is a true key opportunity to really engage within the political process from your ideas, your frustrations, and also your opportunities for growth. Then comes the research. And I'm going to say it again. Then comes the research. There are so many ideas that people have in Baltimore, but sometimes council members at the local level are constrained by state law or federal law. That is a fancy word of saying preemption. Preemption is making sure that your local laws do not go above and beyond the state level and the federal level. So I'm going to give you a quick example. If we say in Baltimore City that I am going to have a candy shop on every corner in Baltimore, but the state law says that we are only allowed 2 within a 500-foot radius. That means in Baltimore, we are only allowed 2 within a 500-foot radius. So even though people are like, oh, I want to see a candy shop on every corner, that means our state law is constricting us to only have 2 within a 500-foot radius. And then the advocacy changes not just from your city council, but to your state legislators and sometimes your federal legislators as well. Also with research, we need to understand if what your idea is truly or can be truly covered by law. How would enforcement work? I used to tell people when I used to work on the Hill, if 2 things were not attached to a law, then we just out here performing. If a law is not attached to a specific agency, or we don't know how we're going to pay for it, chances are the law is not going to be implemented the way that you want it to be implemented, Baltimore. And that's very important because everything else is just ceremony. Real laws are attached to an agency and What we in government speak has a fiscal note. Good policy is truly community informed, but it also carries weight, making sure that you have the agency and the fiscal note attached to it. Now I'm going to overview the legislative process. So we have the drafting of the bill. We have the first reader, the second reader, the third reader. Then it goes to the mayor's desk for possible signature. I want to outline all of those steps because these are various levels of engagement that you could be as a community member, as a Baltimore City resident, that you could be engaging in the legislative process. Step 1, drafting of the bill. Once we have a solid idea with good research behind it, it is time to put it in writing. The legislative language that each bill has is very unique, and it is also so important because once the city council works with legislative reference, shout out Ben, Director Guthorn, and his legislative staff, Ross and Catherine, once they draft the bill, then we are able to push it towards the full city council for bill introduction. And let me be clear, Baltimore, this is not text messages. This is not just mere conversation. This is so important. Folks tell me, Phylicia, I want to outlaw every substance abuse and mental health clinic in the city of Baltimore. What we have found through research is that you can't actually do that. What we can do is provide guidance and healthy boundaries of how they exist in community. That's exactly what my bill is doing related to health clinics. The fine language within that bill has to be so specific, and the research behind it has to be so carefully curated that it includes community, but we are also not denying people primary substance abuse and mental health care within communities. This stage is defining the problem, laying out the possible solution, identifying who's responsible, whether it be the local, state, or federal level, and then also estimating costs. When folks talk about, we pay so many tax dollars, we have got to use our tax dollars very judiciously in the city of Baltimore. If it is not clear on paper, it more often will not work in real life. So that's why this first phase is so important, that you really understand what's happening within said bill language and how it is truly going to impact your community and affect within city agencies. Step 2, once a bill is drafted, it goes forward to the city council, and this is called first reader. And no, we are not reading all aspects of the bill, Baltimore. If we would do that, we would need snacks, we would need blankets, we would be there for a very, very long time. So usually on the agendas, the city council agendas will have basic synopsis, basic descriptions on what the bill is. But at any given time, you can check with the bill sponsor, you can check with your council member, and in a later episode, I'm actually going to show you how to research those bills on a platform we in the city use called Legistar, where you can take down all of the bills and really read through the bill. And at this stage, the bill gets a number and it is officially a part of the legislative process. I cannot stress that enough. The first reader is the point where that bill is officially a part of the legislative process. So even in draft mode, it is not a part of the legislative process because it has not been introduced within the full city council, the first reader. Then it gets assigned to a committee. Within those committees, we have either an interest or we have subject matter expertise that can add to the conversation to make sure that we are getting the best version of that policy possible. And this is where it starts to get real. This is where I want you all to focus your work. Committees are where the deep work happens, Baltimore. And think of it like this. If the full council is the main stage, then committees are the rehearsal rooms. They are where everything gets worked out. The questions, the community engagement, the yes or no's that often happen with bill drafting and bill conversation. This is where city agencies weigh in, where experts like you in community provide real life experiences and testimony. This is one of the many opportunities for community members to speak up. And yes, This is your moment. If you ever wanted to voice an opinion to your city council person, committee hearings are where it is at. This is where I talked about before, democracy is not a spectator sport. This is one of the many opportunities where you all can get engaged within government. And trust me, my fellow council members can attest to this. If you've never been pulled up on by a resident in community with receipts at a committee hearing meeting, man, you're missing out. It's one of the best experiences. People think of it as negative. It's probably one of the best experiences because then people are engaging with their member. They're engaging with government and letting their voice truly be heard. After a hearing, the committee can either recommend the bill to the full council, they can amend it, which is a fancy way of saying they can edit it, or they can make sure that it stays in committee. They can decide that it's not ready and that bill stays in committee. This step is critical. Because again, if it does not go towards the next level, it essentially stays in committee until the committee votes it out. So again, that great idea that you may have had may stay in committee for the lifespan, the lifespan of that bill towards the end of the term. And that's where you all as members of the public can come in. If you want a bill to go out in committee, you are able to share your experiences, your insight with members of that committee, which vote to whether that bill stays in committee or it goes to the full council. So you're able to have your voice known about said bill. And remember, if it doesn't make it out of committee, that is usually the end of the road for that great idea. So that's why it's so important for you all to stay engaged and make your voice heard about actual policy as it's being heard on the committee floor. If the bill passes out of committee, then it goes back to the full council for second and third reader. Sometimes it can happen within the same council meeting, but more often than not, it happens in subsequent council meetings. So one council meeting, you're doing second reader. The next council meeting, you are doing third reader. That's really important, Baltimore, because again, between second and third reader is still an opportunity to engage your city council member in the legislative process. So second reader is where it goes to the full council. There's debate, discussion, and potential amendments that can be added to that particular bill. Then after that, it goes to third reader, which is the final vote. That's where the rubber meets the road. That is the final vote. And that is the moment of truth. That is the moment of truth of whether that bill will be supported and approved or it will die, meaning that the majority of the council members did not support that bill. So as bills move forward, every time there is a vote, the magic number is 51% of the membership or 8 votes. If we want it to be supported with a supermajority, that means we have to have 2/3 of the membership supporting the bill or 10 individual council members supporting the bill. And that number is going to be super important when we talk about the next step as it goes towards the mayor's desk. Once the council passes the bill, then it goes towards the mayor. The mayor can do a few things. He can sign it into law, he can veto it, or he can let it become law without his signature. And if there is a veto, the council can override. That means that they can push back on the mayor and say they really want this policy to go through with a supermajority, which is 10 individual members voting in favor or in opposition of a particular bill. Relationships, collaboration, and alignment matter because good policy takes partnership. That was a lot that I just went through. I give all of this information to you all because I want you all to have the full scope of how policy is developed in the city of Baltimore. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. Shout out to people that are engaging with the podcast right now. They are letting me know in the comments. I never thought that pothole video would go viral, but it did. And we picked up some new ideas, even for my committee, the type of asphalt we use, the salt, all the different things. We read the comments. Again, Baltimore, this podcast is for you. I have time to explain how these issues, how Baltimore came to these issues, how Baltimore is working through these issues, and how you as a community, you are able to engage within this legislative process. So thank you again, Baltimore, and I look forward to talking with you all soon.